I wanted to be able to start something from complete scratch, take £200 and buy some product, sell it, reinvest it, and keep going. Industries are becoming saturated, going around the country looking for products that weren't yet online.
How do you manage your family time as well then? Because you're everywhere.
One day said, like, where are you going on a weekend? And I said, I'm going to work. And they said, but why? It's the weekend. And I said, but daddy, he'll go to work and then he can earn money and then he can buy you nice things. And they both looked at me and said, but we don't want that. We want you. I don't view that we need to wake up the next generation. We need to wake up our own generation. They're at the protests. They're at like the forefront of like wanting purpose. What they don't have is support. For me, my business is this. It's a vehicle for me to meet people, share ideas. I have the ability to open up new opportunities. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't moan about problems in the city. Do something about them. Don't be afraid to go and talk to people who you think are really successful. Have no fear.
See it regardless. With this shot, you'll see it regardless. So it's fine if you keep on, to be honest with you. Yeah? Or we will just stick to these and we'll just hand it to this content.
I'll leave it here. And then if I want to...
You can still see it. But yeah, you can just do it like that, no problem.
Welcome to another episode of the Muslim Pound podcast. Today we have an entrepreneur with 20 years of experience, Zagum Arshad. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And all the way from Birmingham.
Yep. It's actually a lot sunnier here, you know, when you actually drive down. It just suddenly, like, the sky opens up and you see blue.
Yeah, so as soon as you pass M25, that's what happens.
Tell me about it.
So tell us a bit about yourself, because you have a lot of different businesses and you've been in business for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm older than I look, I suppose. But I've been in business since I was about 21. As soon as I graduated, I was straight into business, and that's all I've ever done. I've never actually had any other kind of profession. So I suppose that the years add up.
What inspired you to go into business?
I think family. So it was expected of us that we would be business people. We have been for generations, I suppose. If not farming, you know, and that's a form of business as well. So I suppose that was in our blood. But it was expected. Like both my parents were in business. And they didn't really look at it as like any other kind of path for us. They were like, yeah, of course you'll be in business, right? Don't know what, but it will be some form of a business. So that's part of the expectations of it. Then I am naturally entrepreneurial. So it's a bit of a moot point really, in terms of like, you know, what would I spend my time doing? I can think of a business every morning. So I'm like always like looking for opportunity. It just comes very naturally to me. I can piece things together. That maybe for other people would require a lot of planning and thinking. For me, that just comes very much like, it's, you know how people read music off a sheet. For some of us, it's like that. We can kind of just see the opportunity. There's a customer, there's a demand, we can fulfill it. How do you create that? It's hard to go on holiday, for example, because you're there opening a resort every time, right? You're thinking, I could provide all these kind of services.
There's a problem in this service.
So that's actually a good point, because it is a problem that you sense and then you can't help but try to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Whereas for some people, they just look at it and say, well, that must be someone else's problem. Why do I care? Whereas entrepreneurial people will look at it and think, oh, problem is an opportunity. So I'll probably be able to bring something out here that will turn into a product.
What were your parents doing in business?
So they had a footwear business.
Here or Pakistan?
Here and in Pakistan, because we had a factory out in Pakistan as well. But originally that business was based in Birmingham, and that's where we're based. That's where we've always been. And they started that business in the late 70s.
So what was your first business?
So I ran the family business for the first few years of my career. So my father, as soon as I graduated, my father moved to Pakistan and thought, right, okay, I'm done. And so he ran the business out there. I ran the business in the UK. And so I did that for a few years. And then I had this itch of like, I wanted to be able to start something from complete scratch with nothing. Like, I don't know why I wanted the hard life, but I wanted the hard life. And I wanted to just go take £200 and buy some product, sell it, reinvest it, and keep going. It's literally what we did. Bought some textiles and bedding, duvet covers, these kind of products.
Why textiles bedding? That's so random.
Low return rate.
Okay.
was the thing. I could have done shoes. I understood the market really well, but they had a high return rate. Probably still do, but at that time it was a lot higher. And so people would buy 2 pairs of shoes, return one, the one that they didn't fit properly.
Oh yeah, I'm that person.
And that would cost a lot to a company. So I thought, okay, that's not a good market. Whereas if you bought like a duvet cover, you just put it on the bed and you're done, right? You don't really care. So I thought, okay, that's probably a safer market to be in. And I just went to a warehouse and bought I think probably 10, 15 duvet covers, put them on eBay and started selling them.
So your textiles business, where did that take you after? So how long did you actually keep trading textiles?
So still doing it now, but I quickly pivoted into manufacturing product ourselves. I could see where the market was going. So very quickly, lots of people started putting these products online. When I started, there was not much available. And so it was I was going around different warehouses and going around the country looking for products that weren't yet online. Things like pillows and duvets and children's duvet covers. And I'd go and find little niches like little kids' bean bags that nobody was selling online. I'd go and find all those things and keep on adding them into our range. So I'd be moving warehouses. So I was in a small unit. The business started in the loft of the house. The company was called Loft 25.
Oh, is that what you call it, Loft 25?
Yeah, so it was the loft of the house number 25. And then from there, it was a small storage unit. Then at one point, I had like 4 or 5 storage units all next to each other. And then I was like, okay, we're outgrowing this. Let's get an industrial warehouse. So we got the first one, got the warehouse and then needed next door. And then thought, okay, no, this is going to keep on being a problem. Let's get a bigger building and bought one at that time. So we bought this derelict building, did it up, still got it. And so that was, the next home. So we'd be expanding, but I started to manufacture. At one time, we had 100 sewing machinists all over Birmingham sewing products for us. So I would experiment with the team, we'd design a new product, we'd take it to the sewing units, they'd be stitching the covers, we'd be filling them with foam and fiber and beanbag beads and different things and sending out all these different products that then would be our own brand, our own product. It would give us some sort of strength in the market because everything else was getting saturated. Everybody was competing now. So we wanted to have some of our own brands. And then that's where we developed products and developed lots of different brands in garden and kids furniture. We did even gymnastics at one point. So we would do gym mats and gym beams and lots of different products. So I'd be innovating away in those spaces because I wanted to always find the next niche. And then I enjoyed it. So when you enjoy something, you literally just go to the nth degree with it.
Yeah.
I just kept going and then we kept expanding it, kept growing it.
So how long was the actual process from you spending £200 on textiles to getting your industrial warehouse? How long was that
like
process?
2 years probably.
So in that time, obviously you've had to build a team. So how did you find that? Because a lot of it would have been new to you.
I'm a natural delegator. And for a lot of people, they end up doing a lot of the duties of the business themselves. Whereas for me, I would quickly think how to delegate something. So I had an employee within the first, few months. Within maybe month 3, we had our first member of staff. So they would then take care of the dispatch. I'd do the buying. My wife would be doing the customer service. So we'd do something like this. And then very quickly it became 2 members of staff, 3 members of staff. And then we made a lot of mistakes along the way, I suppose, because we would recruit on emotion. So it'd be like someone looks like they really need a job. There was a time people used to knock our door at work and go, do you have any jobs? And I used to never say no. I should be like, okay, let's put them somewhere. I'll train them. Some of them stayed with us for over 10 years.
And then the other ones?
And then you'd have bad experiences, right? You'd have people come in. I'd be slow to get rid of them, even if they're not good. Put up with it. Oh, it's okay. Doesn't matter. It'll work out. But then you learn, I suppose, over time. You think, okay, actually, you need to be a bit more upfront about what's required here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it harms the company. But yeah, in the early days, I was quick to employ, quick to build.
So, as a person, you've built this business. Month 3 comes. Obviously, there's a lot of control you have. So how do you then decide that, okay, look, I need to recruit, but I also need to let go of some control? Because that part's a difficult part. A lot of business people find that even if you're a natural delegator, it's like, okay, I still need to do these things,
Mm.
and it has to be according to my standards.
Maybe I don't have that problem so much about very high standards. I'm opinionated, so I'm like, look, this is what I'd like to happen, and I have a lot of vision of like how I'd like things to look and be. But I'm very empowering, so I'll be like, you take this, and I'll trust your judgment on it. If I believe that you want good for the business, I won't then try to jump into every little decision you make, because I'll trust that, you're making the best decisions possible. I can live with it. I can live with good enough, I think, which helps me to be able to do things internationally now. So when I do things in different countries, I don't visit. So I go to Pakistan probably once a year for like a week. We've got this business in the Netherlands. I've been 3 times ever. And I'm okay with it. Like, I don't need to be right there looking at every little thing. That doesn't mean you don't measure the things that matter. We do that. We measure the results, and there's a lot of scorecards and things that we're measuring, the performance of each business. But I don't jump in to do someone's role for them, because I'll want them to grow into it. I always took a very long-term view where this person will be in like 10 years, and you've got to let them make their mistakes and let them get there. Sometimes that's like counterproductive, because they're probably losing money by the time they know what they're doing. They've left.
Yeah.
So you did all the training, but I was still okay with that. I was like, you let them develop. I measure my success as how much did somebody develop in their time with us. That for me is a better measure than how much money they made us, because that's just one type of measure, right? And I think sometimes too much focus on just that one. Whereas if they've developed over time with us, I feel proud that, they developed under our watch.
But then how do you feel when you've trained someone for 5-6 years and they've left? Obviously, they don't have a loyalty to you.
Yeah.
They're not required to have a loyalty.
Yeah.
But then does that kind of not mess up your empowerment, but it kind of puts a spanner in the works?
It depends, right? I think for me, heart of hearts, I'm always happy when somebody moves on. I think, okay, great, they're ready for the next chapter of their life. Like, I'm often ready for the next chapter of mine. And so, heart of hearts, I'm happy. I think where it can be sour is depending on how somebody leaves. I think people do themselves some injustice in these things. Nobody's the provider but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And I think people need to be reminded of that sometimes, that you don't need to be, put yourself in that position of like, I'm your provider because I'm employing you. You're not. You do your role, they do their role. But you can have that brotherly atmosphere between the people. It can be very much a conversation. I find that there's a lot of now a lot of problems with people who are maybe very introverted, or with COVID, for example, not as well socialized, where they can't come and sit and have a conversation. Say, well, I'm thinking I should leave because I've got a better opportunity. I'd be like all smiles if they came and had that conversation. Sometimes people feel like that they're too uncomfortable to have that chat. And so even though you'd be happy for them, they'll just kind of skulk off slowly and just, send you an email. I think, wow, we've worked together 10 years and you're sending me an email. Like, weird, right? Like, I just find that so strange, because difficult conversations are the actual ones you should be trying to have. The other ones don't matter. Difficult ones matter. I had a difficult conversation on the drive here that maybe a lot of people wouldn't attend to that conversation. They'd be like, you know what, this is going to be an awkward one. It was with a supplier, maybe that their payment is late, or you've reneged on some terms. I answer that phone call on the first ring. Like, yes, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. There's this issue. I'm like, yeah, I know about it. Let's talk about it. That's a conversation. Conversations are not when everything's great and you're all smiles to each other. That's not real. The reality is when you need to sit down and have the uncomfortable one and say, look, I want to leave. I've spent time here. I appreciate the opportunities I've been given, but I've got a better one. What am I going to say to that? I'm going to say, alhamdulillah, brilliant. Happy for you. Take my du'as with you, right? I want you to do well. But if you just disappear and I come in and like, you're not in anymore, I'm like, where did Zaid go? That's strange, right? If you think, and it's becoming more common.
But also, as a businessman, your first thought is always solution anyway. So if someone says, okay, I want to leave, what's the solution?
Mm.
someone goes round and round in circles. Because I had someone working for me, and he said, I need to speak to you. Okay, the office. He goes, I'm not happy with this system you're using. I'm not happy with the environment, and I'm not happy with this person, and I don't feel comfortable. I said, okay, look, it was going on for 20 minutes. What do you want? What's your solution? Do you want to leave? He goes, yeah. So I said, why don't you just say I want to leave?
Yeah.
It's as simple. Say, look, I want to leave.
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there. You save 20 minutes of going round and round and round in circles.
Mm-hmm.
But then difficult conversations
Mm.
are very important. But what's your tip to someone who struggles having difficult conversations?
I mean, look, I was taught by one of my mentors a long time ago that you don't avoid the awkward phone call. He called it in those days. There wasn't so much online stuff or messaging, right? So he said, don't avoid the awkward phone call. That's what you're there for. As the leader of a business, you take the really difficult stuff. You don't delegate that. That's the bit that you say, I'll handle this. And I find myself in that position all the time when I can, like, okay, you can do it. Go ahead. You make that call. You do this. Moment I see this is now out of their comfort zone. Somebody needs to be fired. And their face is telling me. Sometimes I'm pushing them to do it because I'm like, I need them to grow. But then I can tell they're just really not comfortable with that thing. Be like, okay, I'll handle this. Come with me so you can observe, but I'll handle it. Why? Because I can. That's my job, is to handle those difficult things.
And it's still not easy.
It's it's the worst part, right?
Yeah.
To have to let go of someone, or even if you have to let go of someone on bad terms. Someone's just like, done something really, insubordinate or something, or, caused gross negligence on something, and you're going to have to let them go. It's still horrible. Don't want to do it. You don't wake up that morning thinking, great, can't wait to go and have that chat. But you don't shy away from it. You need to be man enough to go and have it and say, look, this is what the situation is. And I often find also that it's better coming from me than someone else in the company. I'll put it a certain way. Yeah, I'll hardly ever finish with somebody on bad terms, because I'll put it a certain way and say, look, this is what's happened. My hands are now tied. For example, someone's been violent, in a warehouse. Happens. My policy has always been both people get fired. So both people who fought.
Why?
Because the person should have had the patience to stop and come and get someone. They've both fought, and so now you've got polluted atmosphere. It's difficult to work out who exactly was to blame. So if the policy is that both people are going to be removed, then you avoid a lot of conflict, because they're just like, even if someone loses it, the other person stays calm and says, okay, you know what, let's just take it to the office. So by implement, it's hard because you sometimes have worked with someone a long time, they've just lost it. And now what? You've got to enact the policy that you've set.
Yeah.
Not easy, but you need to do it. So
otherwise it shows weakness.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's difficult to be consistent, but you have to do it, no matter who it is. And it could be a family member. I talked to somebody in Lahore, and he'd fired his brother. And he said he violated a company policy. Can't remember what it was. He violated a company policy. He fired his brother. He said, I said, that must have caused a lot of problems, right? He said, they all lived together and everything. And he was like, yeah, he said it was World War III at home, but we set a policy, so we followed it.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me more about Loft 25 Group. Which industries are you in now?
So we manufacture textile products. So we do things like bean bags and garden cushions. We do products like children's furniture. We do them all over Europe. So we've got a distribution warehouse in the Netherlands and one in Birmingham. And both of these warehouses distribute the filled products. So if you think of bean bags, they'll be quite filled and they're quite big, but they don't come in like that. So Pakistan factories manufacture the products, send them over to here, flat covers. We fill them up with foam if they're cushions, or beads if they're bean bags, and then we ship them direct to consumers, so our own websites and all our marketplace channels like Amazon. These are the places where our products are available. And then behind that whole e-commerce system, we had to have people who do the TikTok videos and people who do Instagram, YouTube, and ads, and you've got to do customer service and data entry, and it becomes quite a big team. So that team used to all be in Birmingham back in the day. over time, that team is now nearly all Pakistan based.
Why did you do that?
So cost savings, but then I also had this thing in my heart for a long time of creating employment in the Muslim world, and I wanted to see how we do that. So I set up an academy to do it, and the academy trains people in the skills that our business needed, but now they train them in skills other businesses also need. We were talking earlier about we do podcast editing as a team, so there are teams that do it for different types of podcasts. But that's one service. We do lots of services, but our kind of core strengths are managing people's e-commerce businesses or getting brand awareness out for their products. So that's one type of team. They could be doing posts on forums. They could be doing things on lots of different marketplaces and channels, creating videos and content, SEO. They'll be doing all of this kind of stuff that gets your brand out there. And then we have another type of team, which is more for business to business businesses, which focuses on getting you leads for your business.
Lead gen.
So that lead gen bit is essentially 3 people doing outreach and making lists and finding, essentially their job is to fill up your inbox in the morning. So when you come in to work, if you're a dentist, you want to reach out to new patients, you should come in and there should be 10, 15 new leads in your inbox. If we've done that, we've done a good job for you, which for them then they have incentives and they've got bonuses and it gives them a good life.
Yeah. So how are you managing this massive operation?
I don't know. I think, like I said, I've always delegated. I understand that I'm not a good manager. I think maybe is being the key. I understand that.
Why?
That's not my skill set. I don't think at the micro level. I always think at the macro.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking at the bigger picture. And my head is never present in current time. I'm always thinking 5 years, 10 years ahead. And that's where I spend a lot of my kind of free time is thinking, what's next? What's the next thing to build? And so I used to get criticism for this from an early age. Like my dad used to criticize me of you've opened one shop and before you've cut the ribbon on it, you're thinking of the next 10. Why can't you just enjoy the one you just opened and be proud of what you just did? And I can't. I have to think ahead. I think there are other people who will come into that shop, run it, do a really good job, and think about every little problem to do with that shop. I don't want to know. Once I've opened it, I'm done. What's the next thing? And so knowing that about yourself helps a lot because you're then not stepping in where you're not going to be good.
Then how do you then manage your managers?
I suppose in a very mentoring kind of way.
More like steering the ship.
You're building them to be leaders. They say level 5 leadership is when you're not just you haven't got permission to be a leader or you're not just a good leader yourself, you're building other leaders. I view I'm there. That's my job, is to nurture people into being good leaders. So sometimes I'll stand in the office ready to go home and end up talking for 2 hours to one person. Just on, here's how you should handle this. Okay, tell me what else happened. Oh, this happened. Okay. No, that's not how you should have handled that. You should have said this like this. Always serve first. If you're serving your team, they'll always give you the respect that you want. Don't try and enforce it. That's not how this works. Go and actually jump in, muck in. If there's a container, go and unload it. And yes, your suit might get a bit dusty, but you need to be seen to be one of the team. Why do you think you see me doing that sometimes? Not often as I'd like, but they know that if they just gave me a shout, I'd change jumpers and turn up, but they respect me for it. You've got to earn that respect. It's not just going to be given. Your title doesn't carry that. So you're coaching them to be able to in how to deal with things, and then the difficult decisions that they have to make, they will naturally come to you for them. That doesn't mean I'm just sitting there with people coming in and out all day giving me problems and discussing them with me. But they know I'm available if they want to talk something over. That is, again, my role is to build them. So in terms of running managers, I may not see them sometimes very often. So the managers in Pakistan, for example, I only can meet them online. And when I go to Pakistan, I'll be there only for a week. That week will be intensive. I'll spend a lot of time with them in that week. I'll do nothing else, but I meet them every week online. And then essentially our system is to discuss the issues that are on their mind. That's their meeting, not my meeting. Like, how are you performing? I can get that on a spreadsheet. But what I'd really want to know is, what issues have you got?
Goes back to finding the solution.
Yeah. But then helping them to find their own solution. So you're trying to train them in how to think, which is identify the problem deeply first. And so I'll go back again and again in those meetings with, well, what's the real problem?
Yeah.
It's not, what's it called? Abdul isn't the problem. The problem probably is deeper than that. What is it? It's that, your deadlines are unrealistic. Okay, so how can you manage client expectations for the deadlines to be reasonable? How do you project manage that better? And then Abdul won't have this problem that you're bringing today. So you help them explore that. And soon what happens, they can solve that themselves. They don't need to come to you.
Okay. I want to ask you about your global operations. So you mentioned Pakistan a few times.
Mm.
You've got Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
You're flying to Doha in the, which summit was it? I can't remember.
No, the GMW summit.
The GMW summit. You were there in January, I think.
Yeah, this is November. And I was in San Francisco in September.
So was that a Tech Fest?
That was, Muslim Tech Fest.
So how has Loft 25 become global? And what was your reason that you're going to make it global? Obviously, you mentioned Pakistan, but then how did you make it global as well?
I felt that like sometimes you get stuck in a business and then you're stuck in one type of product, one type of working, and it doesn't fulfill you enough. Like, you've done that now. Now, what do you do with it? One of the things maybe I didn't master was being able to sell things off. So I wasn't good at that. So because I bootstrapped everything, it's built from the ground up with the hard way with each thing. What's the cheap way of getting this problem solved? We want to manufacture this product, but the machinery costs 200 grand. Well, we don't have 200 grand. We don't work with banks. We don't work with riba. So now what do? We have to build a solution to it. That solution is probably like quite complicated. How do you sell the company? Someone else is not going to know how to do that. Sometimes I've got this one process in our garden department, which makes garden cushions and tufts them. It stitches little like a button, a kind of shape into a garden cushion. You'll see them on your lounges and stuff. They'll be like quite pressed down, like there'll be that little button thing. The machinery that we run for that is 50 years old. Nobody makes it anymore. I'm one of the few companies in Europe that still does it. That's because I bought up every machine I could find, right, and stripped them for spare parts, and still do. I've got like a spare parts workshop full of little bits that we strip and put into those machines and keep them running. And we're always looking for like, if someone's going to ever make these machines again, but they haven't. So when you're selling a company, they're going to look at that and think, that's not viable. That's a multi-million-pound department you're running off the back of these really old machines, which run off the back of, a car mechanic we retrained to be able to do, this machine maintenance for us. So there's little things like that make it difficult to sell businesses. So now what do? Your industries are becoming saturated. Textiles and e-commerce was brilliant 20 years ago. Now, where would you want to be? You'd want to be in tech. Muslim companies particularly should be focusing on tech because it can 10x and 100x. And these other types of businesses can't. You make a good living, but is that where I want to put my time and my life? Like, I know I'm in the latter phase now where I'll be quite outdated in the next 10, 15 years. So I can retrain now. This was my chance to retrain myself. And I've gone into tech because I wanted to be able to create more opportunity, because I see tech as the great leveler. You can be living in a small town in Pakistan and working for a multinational company on the other side of the world and earning, a couple of $100,000.
All you need is internet.
Yeah, it's all possible, right? And you can be training your siblings to do it and your other villagers to do it at the same time, and create a little pocket that is like earns well. And so you stand on your own feet. You can actually empower your community. I could see that, but I couldn't do that with my textiles business. So I thought, now either I can't even sell it, and at the same time I can't go completely into a new industry. So let me experiment. So I set up an academy, started a new company, co-founded some things, started an AI company recently, did different things, and thought, okay, actually, what everyone says, you can't handle these multiple businesses. Like I've got like 7 or 8. You can't handle them, too hard. I'm thinking, well, the alternative is I can have an easy life. I don't think that's what I'm supposed to have. It's not so much about easy. It's about Jannah's supposed to be hard, right? It's an effort. You've got to make effort to get there. Time's got to be optimized. Like I work harder now than I did when I was younger, even though I was quite flat out then. But now it's like literally I account for every minute. I'm literally like thinking all day long, like I'll never be free. I'll always have other things to do. So that's what's wrong with that. I think, okay, it's fine. I've accepted that life because of the privileges that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. I'm privileged. I live in a privileged place. I've had a privileged education. I'm surrounded by good people. I've got resources. So I have a sense of responsibility to give back more than the other person who maybe hasn't got any of that. But so I'll be accounted harder, I feel, that what did you do with your time and your efforts? And tech is one of those things that I then needed to get out there and learn and develop new products and new things with, because I view that that's the future.
And then how did you manage to go from here to Amsterdam? What was the reason behind that specific location?
That one was Brexit. So when Brexit happened, we couldn't send products out to Europe anymore with ease. It was a lot of customs and paperwork and all sorts. So we thought we've got to set up a warehouse, and this was just during COVID that we did it. So we actually set up this whole warehouse without even visiting it. So it wasn't easy.
Well, how did you set up a warehouse in a foreign country without
so
visiting?
it's that whole thinking of barakah is a thing, right? That you intend to do something, and I take the spirit with everything I do. You intend to do something, and it has good behind it, good intentions. Allah will send you who you need when you need them, and He'll send you. All the stars will align in that sense, right? Don't have any fear. I think like that. So we needed to set this place up. We don't know anyone there. We're like, well, how do you do it? We spoke to someone who worked at Islamic Relief. They said, we've got this guy who we send out to open, whenever we need to establish a new refugee camp, we send this guy. And we thought, that would be the kind of guy that could help us set up a warehouse. They said, you could speak to him. It probably won't work for you, but you could speak to him. We spoke to him, hit it off, became friends. He's still with us now. He did it. And we just had some Zoom meetings. Then we had a warehouse.
And then what about like understanding the whole legal structure and everything?
So you have to have a lot of you have to have a lot of chats with a lot of different people. What I think is a really good thing that I learned this from Ray Dalio's book, Principles. He talks about triangulation. So you get 2 experts in the room and you're the third, and have a chat. You learn everything, because one person can pull the wool over your eyes, but in front of another expert, he doesn't. So he actually is quite straightforward and and honest in those chats. And then they talk to each other and you listen and go, oh, okay, right. So that's how it's done. And you know everything.
So that Amsterdam office or warehouse you visited 3 times.
Yeah.
How are you managing? Is it simply on your spreadsheets, or how are you managing that?
So the way all our companies work is you have one weekly meeting that everybody attends. Yeah. So not like as in all in one, but each person must be in one meeting at least a week. And information then cascades down the layers. So the top level meeting would be an hour and a half. You come in, you go through the scorecard of how everything's performing, how many sales, how many returns, how much money was made, how much was spent. Go through all the top level figures. And so you then flag in that scorecard section of the meeting what might need discussing. So you're like, returns look like they've gone up by 2%. Might need to chat about that. So you take a note, and then you've finished that scorecard section and you go into issues. And in issues, then those things that you identified from how the business is performing are mentioned. Along with, you also mention how what things are on your mind. So they might be like, well, I think I've got a problem. So-and-so in this department might be an issue. I found that we're getting new problems from the last batch that was received. Sales aren't increasing. What can we do? So all of these problems are brought forward, and then you discuss them one by one, line by line, and you don't stop until you solve it. So you don't leave it to like, oh, I just don't know. You keep going in that discussion, and you might run out of time, but you discuss the most serious issues first.
Are you fed up with bad tenants? Are you struggling to sell or buy a property? At High Castle Estates, we know property isn't always easy, but that's why we're here. We help landlords secure reliable tenants fast. We help sellers sell with confidence and achieve the best price. We help buyers find the right home without the hassle. Property is stressful, but with the right team, it doesn't have to be. So, if you're looking to sell, rent, or buy a home, get in touch today at High Castle Estates in East London. You can find the details in the description below. So, just for people who don't know, what is a scorecard and how does it look like? Because I have one like massive spreadsheet with KPIs and stuff.
I was telling this story the other day to somebody who's never seen one. And I said to him, I discovered it maybe 20, 25 years ago. I went to a catalog industry conference. I remember like this was like 1999 or something. And it was like £500 to be there. It was a lot of money for me back then. But I went for some reason. I went to this thing. I wanted to learn from people better than me. And the catalogs at the time were like Argos and Index and all these like kind of big retailers.
Littlewood's.
And one of them at the time, Bowden's, I think it was, he gave a keynote speech and he flashed up for literally a couple of seconds a scorecard. And the scorecard was this massive spreadsheet with loads of data on it. He didn't flash it up on the screen for long enough for you to actually read it, but he just flashed it up and said, if I was on a desert island and I knew nothing about the business and I just had this, I would know everything. And I just was mesmerized. I was like, wow, okay, I need one of these. This was before camera phones and things. I had like literally had no picture or anything of it, but I'd seen it. And because I'd seen it, I could kind of then start constructing it for myself. And so I did. Like I would look at what is it that I would like to know about my business if I was on an island with no other communication. And they are the top line figures of your business. You want to know what's happening. How do I know things are going well is the question I ask. So we do this on the top level and then we do it in departments as well. So in my particular department, what do I want to know? How many property viewings happened, for example, this week? How many incoming leads came in? How many converted? What's the conversion rate? Why is the conversion rate gone up or down? You would look at that and think, okay, well, maybe this salesman is actually really good. He does a really good job, converts more leads than anybody else. We want to give him more and less to the other person. Maybe he needs retraining. You wouldn't know that if you were just like, well, it's fine.
You're winging it then.
You know, and the other way to look at a scorecard is if you went to watch a cricket match and India and Pakistan are having a great old battle on the pitch, but there's no scoreboard, how long are you going to be interested? You'd be like, I don't know how many runs are needed, what the run rate is, how many overs are left, how many wickets are left, how much the latest batsman scored. You have no idea if you're just watching a match. You're just watching some people hitting a ball with a stick, and it makes no difference to you. You know, it's not entertaining at all. Business is the same. You need some sort of a scorecard, not so you can micromanage people and beat them over the head with sticks so that they perform all the time. It's so you're in your direction of travel is healthy and things are okay, and where you need to pick up on things. Something someone else pointed out to me a few years ago was, as a manager, when you look at these scorecards, your job is to read what's not on the page. So it says this number's changed from this to this, but what's not written is why, and you should be thinking between the lines of what's the point of difference here.
If it's gone up, why? If it's gone down, why?
Yeah, why? And then you'd ask those questions, and then they may be uncomfortable questions, but then each person is responsible for the numbers they put into those scorecards. So whatever the number they hold. So if they're in charge of the sales department, they put in how many leads and how many were converted and what the sales figures were, how many fell through the net, what stage they're at, how many are in this bucket or that bucket. And they bring all of that information to the team, which then helps them know how the whole company's doing. So they're like, okay, so sales are doing okay, but we're letting them down in operations. And operations are actually doing a really good job, but customer service team is letting them down. So everybody can see what's going on and help each other to fix the business. So like a scorecard's like a proper essential, but that's where the journey of that started for me, was seeing a really big business and what they were doing, and they were following all of this information and implementing it in the business.
How often do you look at the scorecard, even when you're traveling and stuff? Is that how?
Okay, so I suppose, so strictly every week is a full review.
So mine is like Monday morning.
Yeah. So as is like we have some teams meet on a Monday. It's the every day for me. So a different business meets on a different day and different time. But it's every week. So weekly pace. Some businesses that I'm now trying to get less involved in, I might look at it monthly with them. But that's sitting and actually literally studying the scorecard. I glance at them like every day. I probably wake up in the morning. I'll have a quick look and I say, okay, right. So that one's doing okay. And it just makes me feel like I don't need to talk to anyone about it. So you mentioned like, how to manage businesses. That's one of my big wins in I know how the business is doing without speaking to anyone. One of my other really big successful ones here is that I'm able to get a daily email sent to me by every person who reports to me.
That's your senior leadership team.
That's my senior leadership team, managers of businesses and units. They'll send me a daily email at the last 15 minutes of their day and just break down what they spent their day doing, what issues they're facing, and how they're feeling.
Oh, is it like the Elon Musk style? What did you do today?
This is I can't remember who I got this from. I don't think it was Elon, but like, what's it called? But I did get it from someone, and it was a great thing, right? Because it gives me a snapshot of how everything's going, and I can fix issues quickly. So I review these in the evening. So they'll be like, today I spent the day doing this, that, the other. I've got an issue where I can't seem to find these digital assets, and I'm like, oh, they're in that folder. Like, here you go. Here's a link. Or ask so and so. They look after that. Problem solved. Don't wait a week till we come to the next meeting and you're like, by the way, I couldn't get this done because I didn't have this. So I get to pick up on that. But the really key part of those emails is the reflections part, which is how you're feeling. That tells me invaluable stuff.
What kind of stuff does that tell you?
It can really, for example, it can be anywhere from I'm feeling down to I've had a tragedy in the family, or I'm loving this role right now, and I can't wait till we smash our goals. It tells me where you're at. And if the ones who are very honest with it, we're very in tune with each other. It's like, okay, if you tell me you're having a really bad day, I'm not going to pile any more pressure on you. So that's good. I know how you're feeling. Someone's annoying you. There's no point me putting you together in a new team I'm thinking of. So that, again, is good for me to know. But if you're like, I'm really hungry for this is wicked, I'm like, how can we get more business? Then we feed off each other's energy. I'll come in the next morning and go, I've got these 2 new ideas for you as well.
Yeah, get you thinking.
So it gets us all very, how people are and how they're feeling. And then when someone's not filling it in, sending me like I answered the phone calls and I filled in a scorecard today. I'm like, ooh, you're not happy. What's wrong? So I'll come in that next day. I'll make some time for that person. Say, you're all right. What's going on? And then inevitably, they're not okay usually. But sometimes it could be just, I was really rushed. I just sent this across, right? And I'll be like, 3-4 days in a row. Really, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, actually, I'm not enjoying it. So, okay, why not? You then fix that. I'd rather know that quick. So that's been an amazing tool for us to manage very different people. Because imagine all the different contexts. You've got B2B tech businesses, you've got AI businesses, you've got manufacturing, you've got e-commerce, you've got all different types of things going on in different countries with different cultures, in different time zones. How do you bring that all together? And that's a tool that for me has really helped.
How do you focus on like so many businesses? Because one, I don't know who I was listening to. I think it was Mr. Beast, and he was like, he's just obsessed. And a lot of business owners, they're just obsessed with that one idea, one product, and they like all day. That's all they do, and they become experts. But you're the opposite. You've become expert in delegating. That means you've been able to manage multiple business. But how do you like focus on 7, 8 businesses at a time?
I think there isn't an easy answer to that, because people who focus on one business often do really, really well. And it's their life's work, and they've done a great thing. And it's probably an amazing business, right, in itself. I aim for amazing. I don't want to be known for the best beanbags in the world. Like, yeah, kind of, it's not going to, do anything for me, really. I want to be good enough. But for me, it's impact. And I feel like with multiple businesses, I can have impact in different parts of the world and connect dots a lot. I'm a dot connector. So I'll be like, noticed a trend here, but I'm applying it somewhere else completely. But I wouldn't have picked up on it had I not been in that business and that industry. And I think that's where most interesting business journeys come from. You learned something somewhere else and applied it to a new industry. You learned it in retail, but you applied it in property. So good customer service, not something property business is known for. But you learn that in retail, and you come to property and you give them a really nice experience. It's the big purchase for them in property. It's a big moment for the whole family. Entertain them. Do you have a play area for kids in estate agents? Like you should, right? Like kids are going to come. You want them to be involved in the decision. But where do you learn that from? You're not going to learn it from an estate agent. You're going to learn it from a different industry and apply it. I enjoy that bit. I like to apply lessons from each to the next. And in terms of concentrating on just one thing, I think for me, I haven't found the one thing that I'm like, that's me. I just want to be this. I enjoy being very kind of experimental, and I like change. I'm never bored because of it, because I don't think I would be able to handle boredom. Don't know how that would, mix with me. And I'm similar in my Islamic work as well. I don't just do one thing. I'll literally be doing many different things at the same time. That's how I operate. I'm comfortable with uncertainty and not knowing something. So on the drive here, literally, we were planning iftars for reverts, and I'm like, I haven't done much for that project for the last 12 months, but the iftars I'll do, right? Okay, but now how do we jump in to help with that project? Well, it doesn't take much. I already know the ecosystem. So I'll be there. We'll provide food. We're going to invite the reverts. We'll talk to the reverts. We'll have make them comfortable. We'll maybe do an Eid event as well for them. That's my little thing that I do on one side, but that's not what I'm known for. It's not what I spend my year doing. It's not what I'm like giving a lot of thought to. But it's a quick win. So you'll just jump in to do it. And similarly, like I don't like get involved with only one masjid. I get involved with like 5. But why is that? It's like I don't want to be known by like I'm just this one masjid's person.
This one.
And which helps. So when we had the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham in 22, I was asked to lead all the dawah teams of Birmingham from all the masjids. They all had their own team, and we put them all together and did a campaign together all over the city with stalls everywhere. It was called Welcome to Birmingham, and Team Islam was the name of like everyone working together. I got to lead it because I'm so neutral. I'm not in any masjid. I'm not seen as like that masjid's person or that sector or whatever. I'm just seen as very neutral. It's a great place to be.
How do you manage your family time as well then? Because you're everywhere. So how do you manage family time?
I think, so I don't work weekends. That's always been a thing. No.
Obviously, unless you're traveling.
The story of that is I used to. And then when my daughters were little, they one day said like, where are you going on a weekend? And I said, I'm going to work. And they said, but why? It's the weekend. And I said, but daddy, he'll go to work and then he can earn money and then he can buy you nice things. And they both looked at me and said, but we don't want that. We want you. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm trying to like buy them material things At that time I didn't have much purpose in my life, but like material pursuits, and they don't even want that. They want my time. So my time I should be giving them. So I didn't work weekends again. I was like, I'm going to, I do a bit now, but like, they're grown up now. So I can, right? But I didn't, because that was family time. You have to, especially in this country, you've got to give your kids a lot of time. And then maybe the thing I sacrifice, I don't hang out with the boys. Something that I think is.
How old are they?
So when I say boys, like, your friends, right?
Okay.
I don't do that. And I didn't since I was like in my mid-20s.
So why do you regret that?
And I don't regret it. I recommend it. I think people need to grow up. You give your family time. Don't go hanging out with your mates when your family's at home. That's the bit that you can probably sacrifice. It's okay if you didn't do too much of that. Do some. Don't be a loner. But at the same time, don't be like out with your friends constantly and your family's waiting for you because they need your time. So I think that's the bit where I think you can play around with where you are able to give your time to. Can't be everything, but it can also can't just be one-sided. And don't just be business. I know too many of those people. They just do business. Family's looking for them. They don't know where they are. And then you've got the other people who are like just family time all the time and don't do anything effective in their lives, right? Other than that. And then you've got the people who spend so much time with their friends, the family's looking for them and work's looking for them. So nice balance is what's needed.
I feel like we all need a balance between business, family, and then social impact as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's very important and that can easily be neglected, especially like after long days, like, don't want to do anything. But socially, we have to do something. What does social impact mean to you?
I think you've got to be a positive force in your community and in the society around you, because they'll account you one day of what you did for them. Simplest example of that is in Birmingham. It's almost a majority Muslim city. It will be the first one in Europe. Probably is, but apparently we're nearly there. However, I put up a job that's above 30K and I get 0 Muslim applicants. And I'm always like, why aren't they applying? Why don't they apply? I'm in an area surrounded by Muslims. They don't apply for those jobs. The next day, I put up a minimum wage job. I get 300 applications in the first hour. I have to switch it off because we can't sift through that many applications. And they're all Muslim. So we've got problems, like as a community. But as a business, what am I doing about them? I can't just say, oh, here's a problem.
Why is that? Why are you not seeing them quality of applicants for 30 grand?
I think there's an aspiration issue. I think that people think that they're not good enough for these kind of roles. Sometimes I'll take the minimum wage CVs and give them the job and say, like, you could do this with a bit of training. You can try for it. Sometimes that happens. But it's an issue. It's an issue. We're not, we haven't got the aspirations that we should have. We aim low. It's like same in business. You meet a non-Muslim founder and they'll be aiming for the stars. They want to build the next Google or Microsoft. And you meet the Muslim founder and he's like, I want to build this prayer app for my town. You're like, okay, do you think you could do more? They're like, no, this is fine.
So that's a very poverty mindset. We can only do within. We have this one shop and happy with this one shop, even though you're working 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. How, like, if we were to come with a solution on this table right now, how would we come up with that solution?
I think mentorship's really key. So each of us business people, and you have so many guests, each of those people should be mentoring a large number of people. If you're not mentoring 20, 30 people, you're not trying. I don't mean like in a group setting, and I don't mean like, you're giving lectures. Be there for them.
Be available.
Be supportive. By text. I have some people I mentor by text. Literally, I've probably never spoken to them. It's literally, I have a problem. Can you help me with this? What would you do here? And it can be very personal, and it can be very business, and it can be very career, and it can be very, specific in different things. Personal can literally be, what's a good school for my son? You've got kids. You've been through the cycle. What's a good school? And I'm like, don't look at any other school. Go here and speak to this teacher and they'll sort you out. Big problem solved for them, right? What did it cost me? Literally
Just a bit of-
seconds,
Just a bit of reward.
right? And you just took, you took the opportunity. In business, someone comes to you and says, I've got this product, I'm sourcing it for this price. And you're like, okay, I could probably source that for you 10th of the price by sharing a contact, right? Okay, ring this guy. That guy loves you. You gave him a customer. This guy loves you. You saved him loads of money and you got a reward in the process. You're strengthening your community up. I mean, that type of mentorship, not so much like you're literally building someone from scratch and you're teaching them how to do something that they're probably never really going to be good at. That's probably not sensible. But you give people, point them in the right direction, give them, some sort of, guidance that they need. We didn't get that in our time, maybe, and we could have done a lot more if we had. So then be the change, don't moan about it. So, okay, fine. Okay, you didn't get it. Boo-hoo, right? What are you doing about it? So give it to the people who now need it. Easy to do.
We need to move from armchair critics to action takers.
So true. So true. And look, the action bit doesn't take a lot. It's just make yourself available. I say this at the end of some of my meetings these days. I probably meet 3 or 4 new people every day online. Have a meeting with them and have a chat, see what they're about, see what they need, see what door I could open for them. I go to networking events with this mindset of, who does Allah want me to help today? I walk in literally to a venue with take a breath, say Bismillah, walk in with this attitude of there's probably one person here who Allah wants me to go and help in some way. Hence my time is worth me coming here. Otherwise I don't need a new accountant and I don't need a new architect and I don't need a new social media, agency. So that's not why I'm here. I'm here to see who I could actually help in some way.
That's you're working with a mindset of serving, and obviously when you're serving, more comes back to you anyway.
All the time, and you can't measure it. I sometimes think to myself, the audacity of some of the things I do and some of the projects I envision, and I think to myself, who am I? Nobody, right? And yet I have the audacity to take it on because I know Allah's going to send me who I need, and then we'll do it.
So what's your secret? Because you go to these networking events. That's where we met, the Muslim CEO dinner. And you were the energy of the place. I don't know if you knew a lot of the people there or a lot of people kind of gravitated to you because of you spoke some heavy words about circulating the Muslim pound and just basically working with each other. Because even there was someone who was talking about exiting a business and we were just there talking about exiting and how do we keep the money within our community exiting. And I think you said, right, Muslim founder or exit to a Muslim VC or keep it within.
Yeah. I think so when you're sincere about your ideas, you really want good for others. If you really believe that, if I really from my heart want good for you, you're going to gravitate towards me without me even trying. I just have to be sincere to you. So you go out into these networking events, you meet Muslims, you meet other businesses, you meet, and it's not restricted to Muslims even, right? You should be like this with everybody. But you go out there with sincerity. You literally will harm yourself before you harm the other person. That's your default position. People pick up on that, I think, and they gravitate towards you. And there is this thing of some of this stuff is from Allah. People immediately like you. I'll give you an example of this. When I started my business with £200, I wasn't just circulating my money again and again. I went in with £200, bought some product, came back. When I went second time, I had unlimited credit at that warehouse. Unlimited. They were like, you could take whatever you want, any truckloads, van loads, whatever you want. Who's asking you for money? That was my second meeting with them. Still friends today. Where did that happen from? The barakah, I can say that. But I can also say that from Allah, there's sincerity almost on your face. That's a gift. That's a gift from Allah, right? That people view you as being honest and sincere. You can damage it. You can break it, you can ruin it for yourself if you want. But if it's a blessing and you understand it to be a blessing, then you should be giving back with it. So people will trust you. So why am I on a dawah team? Because I know when I meet, so my first time I ever went on a dawah table in Birmingham City Centre, we had a couple of hours of training and we went and we got there and some EDL guy came over, started swearing at one of the guys. And so he's swearing at him, he's having a proper go at him. And our leader was a bit like, what do I do here? And then I said, oh, let me have a chat to this guy. And so I took him, touched his elbow, good body language trick, right? And just touched his elbow, took him to the side, said, let's have a little chat. We're having a chat. After a couple of minutes, right, after this guy was like really like enraged. He had Tommy Robinson's book in his hand and like, he was really all like angry. And a little leaf fell off a tree and onto my face. And this like big guy, right, was like wiping it off my face like this, right? The guys were like, what did you say to him? Like, I hadn't even talked about Islam yet at that point, right? Because the thing is that people will take to you if you come across very human level, sincere with people and believe it, like actually be sincere to them. And I think that is what I sometimes carry into my networking. And when I get out there, I say what's from the heart. If I don't believe it, I don't say it. If I don't, if I'm not prepared to follow through and put my money where my mouth is, I'm not interested. I won't say anything. I'll not go. I didn't go to networking events for years. I was like, what am I going to do there? Until someone said to me, it's not about you.
It's about them.
Well, go and give back. And a total mindset shift.
Now you're hosting the...
Now I can't get enough of them, right? I mean, loads of them, right? And I go all the time. I go to as many as I can because you're there to serve. And then you don't know who you're going to serve today. So you get there, you turn up and you think, you meet so many interesting people. I was just been to one in Leicester with SMBF just this last Saturday. I was in a school, Madani school. It's a Muslim school, model Muslim school, really nice place. And so I've just gone. And then some brother this morning messaged me on LinkedIn and said, I wanted to talk to you, but you were too popular. And I was thinking, was I? But I probably was talking to people the whole night. Often I don't eat at these events. I don't have time because I'll just be talking to different people because it's so interesting. I'm genuinely interested in my community, what they're up to and what they need and what their problems are. Sometimes someone just needs a older brother's hand on their shoulder and says, you can do it. Who said you can't do it? And they like become lions and they go and do it. Some other people need to just hear that like other people have got the same problems as them. So you deliver that to them. So you'll never be bored, right? And I recommend to every Muslim should be turning up and coming up in with this attitude of what can I contribute? And then people say, oh, I've got nothing to contribute. I can't tell anyone anything. I'm nobody. We're all nobody. Anything we have, Allah gave it to us. Who are we? But then if Allah has given you something, anything, then you must give back with it. Otherwise, they'll take it away. I view it as like you're not deserving of it.
It's an amana as well at the end of the day.
I don't have a property empire. And I view that it's because I'm a poor custodian. If I have a property, I was telling you this on the way up here, right? I haven't put the rent up on my house that I've got rented out for 10 years. And I probably won't. I'm a poor landlord. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I'm just don't have the heart to put the rent up. And so I don't deserve to have multiple properties then, right? I wouldn't do very well in that business. So it's fine, right? But everybody's skilled at something. That thing, teach it to someone else. You must teach it to someone else. It's their haqq, I say now at the end of meetings. You have a haqq over me to ask me to open doors for you, to give you advice. I'm not doing you a favor. You're not, it's not like I'm some great person because I helped you with something. It's your right. You're literally saying to me, you have this thing I don't have. You have access to this thing I don't have. Let me in. Why am I going to say no? I'm not interested. Stay where you are because I've made it somewhere. That's useless, right? Me making it is useless. Us making it is attractive.
Why?
Because we, as a community, what do we need, right? We need strength within our community. When there's a need, There's this famous story, right? I don't even know if this is true, right? This is a famous story I used to hear as a kid. That when Glasgow Central Mosque was built, that the uncles who built it were all businessmen. And that I heard this story that they sat down and said, we're going to build this mosque. I'll give 100 grand. You're going to give 100 grand. You're going to give 100. You're going to give 50. You're going to give 25. And they just built it. And we still hear this story because they were all business people, mostly one family. I don't know if it's how true it is. However, I always aspire to that our community should be in that position. We should be able to say, we need a youth center because there's knife crime in one of our areas. So pay for it then. You're not going to go out with your bucket going, everyone put £1. You're like, I'm a successful business person. I'm able to fund this thing. A couple of us will get together. We'll pay for it. We want to be there. We want to be productive members of society, able to solve societal problems together as one. That is what our community should look like. Shouldn't look like the other end of like, we just can't even like do the basics, right? Because we haven't pushed ourselves, haven't enabled ourselves to get into business. Another thing I should add to that. Every successful business person, and you're one of them, is that you have so many opportunities on your desk every day that you can't do. You know this, right? I have the same thing. Opportunities come to us and we can't do them because we're too busy. We have to say no. We have to leave them on the table. And people bigger than us in business must have amplified that many more bigger, more lucrative opportunities coming to them that they can't do. But why don't we help others to do them? My excuse is they're not coming to me and saying, do you have something that I could do? If they were, I'd be like, do that. That's a great little opportunity there. Nice business you could make. Let me help you do it. So I've tried doing some of this, right? And often like people don't have the entrepreneurial skills to put it together, whereas you could. So probably it's not as easy as that. But still, though, we should, as a community, be putting opportunities in front of people who aren't doing things.
It's a very interesting point because I was thinking in my head of like, there's quite a few opportunities that I'm trying to kickstart, but it's the time. We only have a certain amount of time. Plus, we're doing a standard day to day. Plus, we've got podcasts we're doing. Plus, we're doing this. Plus, we're doing that.
Yep.
But the way I view the Muslim Pound, I'm gonna get your thoughts on it shortly. Is like you said, we're one massive community, and our needs should be put in the middle of that community. And then there should be certain people who take lead. Like you said, you need a knife crime community center. But the leaders of that community should be coming together and say, we need this. Abdul over there, he's actually really good in galvanizing community and he's got experience in social work. He should lead it. And that's the kind of way I view it, like a mini parliament.
Oh, yeah.
Or massive parliament, because we're bigger than a parliament.
It sounds like a chamber of commerce.
Okay, could be that.
And there's a lot of talk about this at the moment, that there should be a Muslim chamber of commerce. Opens up opportunities for each other, supports each other, has seminars that we train each other in skills that are needed. But you are doing this, right? Through the podcast. You're raising awareness on these kind of issues. You don't know who you're going to inspire.
There's that, but it's not been done in a community aspect or community way in the sense that there's plenty of different podcasts, but we should have like a group, a leadership group or leadership team like you have in business, and then that filters down because there's certain people in every community and there's certain people in the Muslim community, you can probably think of loads, who can empower a whole nation or a whole city. And for example, you were at the forefront of our scene. So you can maybe empower Birmingham with the right people. It might seem like a big task, but once everything is done in an orderly fashion, you grow 10x. But what happens is everyone's boycotting Coca-Cola, Salam Cola starts, there's this cola, that cola, that cola, that cola. You're just creating competition and you're taking money away. Whereas if you have 3, 4, there's still healthy competition, but that money people want to spend in that Coca-Cola brand or in just buying Coke stays within 4 people, 4 businesses. And you can start other businesses, people can do other things, but we have to facilitate the need. Now, why don't we have a competitor to these mics, for example, or to Hovis, or to Argos? We should have a competitor to each and every single one. But that comes with a community infrastructure, built where we know the needs of each and every different aspects of business and charity.
Yeah.
Charity is another one.
Mm.
That we should have a strategic way that why is when the earthquake, every single charity goes towards the earthquake.
Mm.
But it's not, it has to be given strategically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like my kind of 2 pence.
No.
That's what I feel, and that's what I feel we need to get to as a community. And it's going to take time to build,
Mm-hmm.
but stuff like the Muslim CEO dinner,
Mm.
that's like I think, big eye opener for me as well. Look how many CEOs there were just on that table.
Mm-hmm.
And we had people who have exited at a few million, we've had people who are just starting up. And the energy in the room was actually probably one of the best I've been to.
Mm-hmm. Alhamdulillah, that is a brilliant event the brothers have put together. Thing is, right, start from that point. You have a Muslim CEO's dinner. We had them all around the country. Not my project. I'm involved, right? As soon as I see something good, I'm going to jump in and offer my support to it. What happens inevitably, right, is that then you get work to do and then we run away. I'm like, okay, what can I offer? I can offer you my time. I can offer you my ideas, my effort. But it's not I can't be there every day doing this thing. So I'll host the Birmingham event. Let me take care of that. You need me involved in ideas of where to take the organization next. I'll come to some meetings. We had a 5-hour meeting the other day. And okay, that 5-hour meeting had to reschedule lots of things to accommodate it, but I did it. And that's offering your support. Then I think there's a spirit of us wanting our name up in lights above everything. Don't know what's wrong with us as a community, but we want that. I learned my lesson on this was when I wanted to go and volunteer on a homeless project. I literally walked in and thought, I should do this myself. I should open my own homeless project in Birmingham. And I just mentioned it to someone, Allah bless that person to advise me correctly, said, why would you want to set up your own one? Support the one that is there, make it better. They're not even doing it 7 days a week. Offer them an extra day that you handle that day. They can't get enough volunteers. There's not enough budget. There's not enough, so many problems, right? But why would I want, and I checked myself here, why did I want my own one? So I can have Zagum up in lights and go, it's his homeless project and he's great. That's probably why, really. And and so if you're really honest with yourself, that's probably why we end up, or I'll do it better my way. I don't want to cooperate with other people. Remember that difficult conversations thing we started with, right? Don't want to have difficult conversations with all the founders of the group and then they'll disagree with me and I. But if you all are all on the same mission, disagreements are fine. It has to be, not everything has to be my way.
As long as it's dealt with maturely.
And you discuss with sincerity with each other. Sometimes you'll have your way. I'll let you have your way because that's okay. It's all right. Maybe you've got the better idea. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'll argue passionately. I think we should do it like this. And at the same time, you may know something I don't. You may have a better idea. Let you have your way. No problem. So long as we're on the same mission together. I spoke to a brother a few days ago who has put together a group of 40 food businesses, cash and carry suppliers, manufacturers. And he said the combined turnover of these 40 people is 1.4 billion.
Wow.
All up north, right? You Londoners need to give us some credit sometimes, right? But these 1.4 billion, right? And he said, what do you think their insurance spend is per year? Tens of millions in insurance.
Community impact is massive. And a lot of the younger generation, I've noticed, are all about me, and individualism.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about big names out in lights, and that is what the younger generation is about. How do we wake up this next generation to come with us on this journey to build this massive infrastructure, which is it'll create a massive impact. And this is what we want to do. And everyone's seeing October the 7th, and everyone's kind of now waking up slowly. You need leaders and you need guidance, and that comes from people like yourself who have successful businesses. How are you going to wake up this next generation?
I'm going to give you a different viewpoint on this. I don't view that we need to wake up the next generation. We need to wake up our own generation. I think that's the real problem. I've got kids who are Gen Zs. So my eldest daughter graduates from LSE in the next few months. That generation is switched on. they're at the protests. They're at like at the forefront of like wanting purpose. They're not chasing money like, we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. They're like, we want to have impact in the world. They've got that. They're about that already. Every Gen Z person I meet, and I could be in a bubble, I don't know, but everyone I meet, and I meet a lot of people, are all about doing something bigger than themselves and are looking for that purpose. What they don't have is support. And so I've said, okay, let me give what I can. You first start with yourself. So I can offer some forms of support. What can I give? I can give people work experience in the different kind of things I do. I can give them mentorship from my time, and it's not much left of it, but I can give what I can. I can introduce them to other people. What does that do? It costs nothing, right? Sometimes I spend a whole day, on LinkedIn, just connecting people back, going, oh, okay, you're really interesting in what you do, but you should meet this person across countries, and you meet people in different spaces. I can form a venture studio, which is going to nurture Muslim startups. What does that take? I can combine with a few brothers and we build something together. And we all bring our skills to it. So I can do what I can do, right? In my own way. But it's our generation and these older, more established Muslims that have more responsibility, I think. Not the young generation that needs to be woken up. It feels like they need to be empowered now. They've got the will. If you sit them down and say, what would you like to do? What would you like to achieve? What difference would you like to create in the world? They're brimming with ideas, brimming with energy. I love it, right? Like, my kids think it's really funny, right? I have all these friends who are 20, right? And my kids are like those ages, right? And they're like, why do you have like friends our age, right? You know why? I get on with them. I find them inspiring, that they've got this willingness to go and make a difference in the world. But then they need support to do it. Mechanisms and institutions. Sheikh Yasser Qadhi talks about building institutions across the Muslim world, like the South Africans did. They built madrasas and they built institutions, and that's what made that part of the world very, successful in terms of sticking to the deen. They'd institutionalized themselves. Why aren't we doing that? Where's our chambers of commerce? Where's our startup hubs? Where's our co-working spaces? We got the first one, I think, in London recently, right? Where's the network of that? Why don't masjids have co-working spaces? Why aren't there business seminars happening in masjids? Why don't we see spaces like that, like those masjids across the whole country be at the forefront of commerce, for example? I suggested to one of our masjids in Birmingham, why don't you hold a job club? And they were like, we're a masjid. Like, and so therefore then you must do it.
Of the community.
You must do it, right? So we've got an event tomorrow at one of our masjids. Lots of companies will come. We'll be helping them, but we'll be helping them from the position of, this is a duty, not what do we get? How do I get a good employee? I'm not going with that mindset. I'm going with the how can I go in there, offer support, offer guidance. You want to go into this type of career? Oh, I could link you up with someone for that. So easy to do if you're willing. And I think our generation needs to step up now and provide that, so that we're empowering them to do much more.
So how are you going about changing this mindset of our generation and waking our generation?
Well, I think be the change is the issue. I had a chance about a year and a half ago to sell my business, and I would have got lots of money. And I didn't, because one of my mentors advised me that he said, look, you're an example to your community running a riba-free business in the middle of Birmingham. Don't sell it. If you sell it, then that kind of example doesn't exist. You'll have money. What are you going to do with the money? I said, I don't know, I'll buy some properties and rent them out. And he said, how will that help anything? And so I didn't sell. And, some people would say that's stupid. It's a stupid decision to make. You should take the money when you can and then reinvest it and do other things. But at the same time, we need to hold on to a few things as well. Like, why don't we build up some larger companies and not just take the first quick buck that we can get? Often people just take the money and run.
But people also take the money because that's where they see the real value of their business. Because, when you work in a business, when I started my first business, I was paying myself £600 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see that until exit.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
That's the difficulty founders face.
Yeah, but potentially, look, you don't see big money, at the end, right? But look, those fringe benefits. Like my father advised me. I tried to advise my father once and said, why don't you buy some property and don't run all these factories and businesses and things that you're doing? It's a lot of effort. And he said, if I had some property and we'd get some rent as a family, he said, who would know us? Like, who would want to know you? You'd have no impact. You would just be collecting your rents and sitting at home. He said, you want to be out there. You want to be doing things, meeting people. Why do you meet people? Is because you're doing something, right? So you end up in, new circles all the time, and you end up being introduced to new people. And so that happens when you're in a position of like harkat, right? You're doing things, not when you're just like sat there. Yes, you've got a lot of money, or if you've got a trust fund, and then you just go and withdraw some money every month. Nobody knows you. Hence, you get up to no good probably in that life, right? Because you need social interaction. But instead, your business is a vehicle. For me, my business is this. It's a vehicle for me to meet people, a vehicle for me to share ideas. It's a vehicle to do dawah from. I'll meet non-Muslims all the time. My dealings with them is dawah. So, I have the ability to do that. I have the ability to open up new opportunities. I can give people an office space. I can give people connections. I can give people sites. Like I spoke to someone I met in San Francisco last year who wants to launch his business in Europe. And I said, use my warehouse. And he said, isn't it already occupied? And I said, there's a little space next to it that is unoccupied. We'll rent it for you. You take it, run it, use my team, visit my team, make them work. Like he was like, well, they're already probably quite busy. I don't want to disturb them. I said, it's fine. If you launch your business there, what will happen? We are the only Muslim employer in the town that we're based in the Netherlands. The only one. The masjid knows us. The local masjid knows who we are because we're the only employer of Muslims. So when do people come to work for us? When they're not allowed to pray at work, they come and knock our door and say, can I have a job? So if you come in and you open your business in that same place, great, fantastic. If I can help you to do that, brilliant, right? I should be doing it. So in answer to your question, you need to be the change in your small way. My way is small. My impact small. So there are people who are much bigger, but they've withdrawn from the community. I met someone the other day and he said, I live in the countryside. I said, that's nice. Why? He said, get away from the community. Right? I said, shouldn't we be the other way around? Shouldn't you be trying to empower your community, not run away from it? Yeah, but they're annoying. And then, like, what's it called? As soon as we make it, we run. We run away and try and, just like create barriers between us and our own people. When actually we should be, I look at Birmingham and see one of the most deprived communities in the country. But it's my community. I came from that. So what am I doing about it? It's all good me criticizing them, saying this is jungly, they don't know how to park, they make a mess everywhere, there's rubbish bins all over the place. Or I can get involved in doing something about it. Let me economically empower them in some way. And if we were all doing it, what would happen? You would be educated people. You'd be, like someone gave a vision. I love this vision, right? Somebody gave this vision a long time ago. Somebody said, John and Jill, stereotypes galore here, right? But John and Jill drive to, what's it called? I don't know, Leytonstone, we'll say, right? Because we've been talking about it here, right? They drive to Leytonstone and they go in and Jill says to John, are you not going to lock the car? And John says, what for? It's a Muslim area. That's a vision of what we should be. You're safe in a place where there are Muslims. There's no crime. People will take care of you. They'll, help you with what you're doing. They'll be responsible for you. You're like a guest when you come into that place. You love it. It's nice. It's clean. It's looked after. Why have we got the opposite? You come back to the car in Leytonstone and it's on bricks. Why is that? What's the problem? Right? Is that we need to fix up our own areas, fix up our people, inspire them to like have purpose. Because they shouldn't be going out into the world purposeless. How can a Muslim be purposeless? Not possible. for a Muslim to be in a position where they don't know why they do what they do. They just do it because they think it's what the society around them does. Your Iman says that you're different, you're built different. So act different. It's not good enough for us to just go and do your 9 to 5 and say, well, I look after my kids, don't I? Is that it?
That's only one part.
That's just, that's just a starting point, right? Like, that's the absolute basic. But like, we have to have purpose behind what we do. Ramadan's coming now, and we should be in a mindset of like bettering ourselves and our communities all through the month. People need to be serving. The homeless project that I volunteer at in Birmingham, Ramadan is like where there's going to be a daily feed. We're going to fight with each other over who gets to pay for the food. We're going to be, sometimes there's ice cream vans get booked so that they come and give everyone ice cream after the food. It's probably too cold now, but like, the people will go out of their way. We ask them what they would like. We'd love some fish and chips, right? We'll go and get the best fish and chips we can find in Birmingham and bring 150 of them for everyone. We go out of our way, right, to try and earn as much reward as possible, but also to do the work that we do with ihsan in this month, more than the rest of the year even. That's how it should be, right? You should be pushing for ihsan. I want to do a really good job because I'm a Muslim, not because like I want to do a really poor job, the absolute minimum I can get away with, right? Because I'm an immigrant, right? Or I'm the child of immigrants, right? Therefore, I've got carte blanche to like just not even try. Not good enough, right? We are of this land now. We're born here. We're off this land. Our children are born here. So that means we have to make extra effort to make sure that we're an intrinsic part of society, not by selling out our values, but by leaning into our values. Our values dictate how our area should look, not anyone else's, not the council, and they're not good enough. They don't collect rubbish and they don't. So I'm going to go out of my way. I was with a revert friend of mine in McDonald's a long time ago. So before the boycott, right? So we're in McDonald's and we finish our food and we're about to get up. I just got up and started walking out, and he starts getting all the things and putting them into a tray and then walking over to the bin. And I said, "What are you doing? That's their job." And he said, "I don't want someone to say Muslims aren't clean." That's the right thinking.
I think we have to go with the thinking that every step we take, we're the representation of our deen. And with that kind of mindset, we will know exactly how we should walk, how we should talk, how we should carry out our business, how we should be at work. And naturally, people would kind of gravitate towards us.
Yeah, because we're ambassadors. Is that the story I always share on this is when my uncle came to this country, his father said to him, "You're an ambassador for your people. When they see you do something good, all Muslims are good. They see you do something bad, all Muslims are bad. Always remember that." He taught us this, right? Because and we live by it if we can. May fail sometimes, but it's like road rage. I don't get road rage. I'm naturally not a easily angered person, but sometimes people deserve it, right? Like, but I think to myself, what's the point?
Especially driving in Birmingham.
They're only going to look at my beard, my appearance or something and assume, and hate Muslims for some reason out of it. I get it, right? You've slighted me. Oh, well, like, not that big a deal, right? Let it go. If I start like effing and blinding, having a go at this person, what's that doing for my deen, really? What's it saying? These people are a problem. Now my whole nation's a problem because what's it called? You met me. Should be the other way around, right? I sometimes will meet like quite racist people, and they'll have an experience of like, actually, it's you're different. I remember being towed back once from Bradford in a van. Probably it was like late 90s, early 2000s, maybe. I'm getting towed back. The van broke down, and the tow truck driver looks like some like big guy, bald head, what's it called, tattoos, right? And he's towing me back. And it was election day. And I said to him, just as we were sitting in his cabin, I said, "Who did you vote for?" And he said, the Lib Dems. And I said, "Oh, okay, who's the Lib Dem leader?" And he didn't know, right? And I said, who did you really vote for? And he goes, oh, BNP, right? And I said, why? Like, do you have resentment? When you're going to drive up to my house now, you're going to see my house, you're going to see my car. Do you have resentment about me having any of these things? And he was like, chatting to me, and he was like, no, I've got nothing against you, right? And I was like, well, it seems that you have from your like political leanings, right? I work harder than you. If you and I both went for the same job, who's more likely to get it if with the same qualifications? You are. I have to work harder to be able to compete. But then I still do, and I still do well. So you hate me for it. It was like, you know where to look, right? By the end of it, right? But this is engagement, not attacking the guy. You engage positively with people. And then some people will anger you. Some people you'll feel like you need to react in some sort of a more non-calm way. But you shouldn't. You should engage. You should discuss. There's nothing wrong with sharing ideas. Don't be afraid of people with different ideas to you. Discuss them. Say, are you willing to have a discussion? Okay, you're not. Then that's fine. Then go your way. Ma salama, right? But like, if you actually want to engage, all the time, I'll cancel everything. I had a discussion with someone recently, and I had meetings coming out of my ears that day. But a discussion started, and I was just like texting away on the side, like cancelled, sorry, reschedule, apologies, right? I'm going to have this debate out, right? Because I'm not going to walk away from it as there's no point. There is a point. We've got to think 100 years ahead here. Is we have to be a voice to be heard. Not a sellout voice that just goes to the Houses of Parliament and nods along to, the good and the great. We have to have an authentic voice of our community, and that's got to be backed by the Muslim pound. I'll tie that back in, right? Because it does need to be backed, because immediately, as soon as we have a project or a think tank or a Muslim, organization, it's always going to be underfunded, understaffed, volunteer run only, no permanent staff. Like in Birmingham, one of the best things we've achieved is 2, maybe even 3 of our masjids have CEOs. And some of our CEOs are like really accomplished. They've come from corporate and have come and become CEO of the masjid. Massive pay cut they've taken to do it, but they've come and done it. I'm so proud of that, because one of those masjids, we run 78 different services from the masjid. Everything from mental health to sports to women's empowerment and education. And
which masjid is that?
Green Lane. And so they're not the only one. And I met one of my old college friends the other day who's come from a corporate career, and he's the CEO of one of the other masjids. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing with my life. And I was like, wow, well done. Amazing. How can I support? And I said, we need corporate sponsors. Good. That's us then. Okay, who do we need to go and talk to? I said, you identify me a list of the businesses in this city that you'd love to get support from and give it to me. Make it my job. I'll go and shame them into it, right? Because I can go and talk to them. They'll give me time of day, and I can go and talk to them, and I can say, put your money where your mouth is. Don't moan about problems in the city. Do something about them. And that doesn't mean everyone's got to give millions of pounds all the time, but get bang for your buck. Like you're able to imagine, right? If a Muslim business that turns over a few million has 1 extra employee, would they even notice? They probably got one that doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So why not employ that person and put them in the masjid in charge of community projects? You pay their wage. Imagine the impact of that. You'd impact lives, new generations. I was talking to one of our sisters who just joined us. She runs the Muslim Scouts at her masjid. And I said, what's your waiting list like? She said 6-7 months. She said, it's long. I said, what does it cost to put together another scout group? $5,000 it costs to put a scout group together. That shouldn't be hard, right? Every masjid should have one.
Yeah.
But we don't. So we go to other organizations, or our community that needs the help the most is on a 6-month waiting list, trying to like get a place in one of the scout groups. Shouldn't be the case, right? We should be able to fund that as a Muslim community, but we don't. Why not? And so we're like, okay, well, the first step, do it. Second step, encourage others to do it because you do it. So you can say, I'm doing this. What are you doing? And you're like, well, okay, that's a good one. I should do that too. Can I help? But if you're just not willing to do it, but you complain about it, then, it's not achieving anything.
I'm going to take you back a few years. Imagine you have a 16-year-old Zagum next to you. What are you going to say to him?
I would say to him, don't be afraid to go and talk to people who you think are really successful. Have no fear. Like I don't now. I'll talk to anybody. No fear, right? Why would I? No one's better than me. I don't view them as like having, some sort of higher status. But at 16, I didn't think like that. So I would have thought, this person's very successful at what they do. They're not good. I can't talk to them. I can't ask them for help. And I get people who reach out to me, and I'm so happy when they do. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks like that. And they should reach out. You should look at the most successful Muslim who's in your like close connections or connection of a connection, and just reach out and say, could you give me some advice? I want to be you. And they'll trust me, they will mentor you, they will support you, they'll be your biggest champion. And people sometimes misunderstand mentoring, right? Mentoring is literally being able to open doors for people and stop them from making the mistakes that you made along your journey. So they get there a lot faster than you did. I think that's like a good way to look at it, because you can easily do that for them. You want to be a startup. Like if I mentor a startup, I know what it looks like. Form a company, to get going, find your first customers, get your product market fit, get your tech built, get your marketing plan together, employ your staff, fix all those problems. I know how all of that looks, right? How hard is it for me to share it and go, don't do that? Don't do it like that. That's not the right one for you. That's not the right thing to do. And because you've made all the mistakes, you've created companies, lost companies, you've gone out of business, you've started again. All of that learning, why do we need to repeat that cycle? I can just tell you that this is the thing to do. One of my mentors' words ringing in my ears at the moment every day, because 10 years ago, he came to my new warehouse, which was a huge site, and he said, Zagum, don't do this. And I was like, what do you mean don't do this? I've got to grow the business. This is a new site. We've got yards, trucks, all sorts. I'm going to, build my empire here. And he said, you're building a monster. It's hard to feed a monster. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just, just because he hasn't done it means that, he's telling me not to. And he was right. I've moved out of that warehouse a few weeks ago, back to my own building. So I don't have to pay rents and stuff anymore. I'm in my own place. And his words are ringing in my ears. I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I just listen to him? Right? It's good to see that in retrospect. But he was telling me for my own good. In the same way, people are willing to tell these 16-year-olds things for their own good if they're willing to listen. And the ones I talk to, they're so receptive. We had a 16-year-old come and did work experience with us over the summer. What a kid. Amazing. He asked me questions about business that I haven't thought of, right? And he was like, really on it, right? You know whose support mechanism was? His mum. His mum came in, cooked food for the entire office. And I was like, what are you doing? You're putting us to shame. Like, he just did work experience with us. No big deal. And she was like, no, I'm not in business. My husband's not in business. And you've given him inspiration of being able to do something. He's very ambitious. And it's a pleasure, right, to be able to do that. But his mom was so supportive of him going and achieving his dreams. And if you haven't got that at home, and a lot of people haven't, then we as a community, it takes a village to raise a child. We're the village, man. Be a good villager. And the good villagers that we can be is in opening up our offices. It should be open season. You shouldn't have to ask a Muslim business for work experience or in an internship. It should be a given. It should be literally, I've decided I'm coming to come and do an internship in your business. Zaid, is that okay? And you're like, oh, well, yeah, okay, sorry, we're full, or, it should literally be that kind of a tone, not a tone of like, oh, please do me this massive favor. I'll ring your uncle and he'll ring your dad, and then you'll give me this work experience. Why don't you have in your office a desk that's always for someone learning? We have 4. We have a bank of 4 that's reserved for anyone who comes in, wants to work from there for the day, or comes in and says, I want to learn how to do e-commerce. Sit there, do it. What does that cost us? 10 pence of electricity.
Yeah, it's not much.
Right? It's nothing, right? And if you've got an abundance mindset that everything you have, Allah gave you, and there's nothing they're learning, they're not learning your trade secrets. They're not going to, be able to take anything of your risk from you. They can't. I challenge them to do this sometimes, right? For fun. I challenge you to reduce my risk for me. Can you?
It's impossible.
Right? So, go learn what you can. Here's my contact book. Read it. Here's my business plan and my model. Study it. You can do it better than me. Do it. Good. Doesn't reduce my risk. Allah will give me something else then, if you're better than me at that thing. So I'm super relaxed about this thing, right? Because I've tasted that thinking of abundance here, and realized that you can't take anything from me. COVID really taught me that a lot as well. So many people who had great things suddenly had nothing. And then so many people who had nothing suddenly had a lot. And it's like that upheaval teaches you, don't be so attached to the dunya here that it can be taken away in seconds. And we're just obsessed by it.
One final question to you is, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
I think that's all I work for now. So this is a big part of what I'm concerned with daily. I've set a goal for myself of creating 1,000 jobs in my father's hometown in Pakistan. And I'm on that mission.
What are you on at the moment?
So 150. So I'm like, we can do this, inshallah. Bought the land. When I bought land for this, we've got a lot of offices already, a lot of buildings, and I bought land. And when I bought the land, everyone laughed and said, like, everyone's selling the land back home. Why are you buying? And it's in the village, this land. And I said, it's for the airport. And I said, what airport? Like, we haven't got a train station, we haven't got a bus station. You were trying to build a airport. And I said, it's for the airport. Think ahead. When we build this place into a tech hub, and we're doing the latest research in the best stuff that's happening, and we bring in, knowledge from around the world to come and teach us, then an airport's going to be needed. So I'm buying the land, ready for it. And you got to sometimes just inspire people with this like vision of like what could be. Why not? Like give them that spirit of something to chase. And so for my teams out there, that's how they talk. We talk about like this future where they don't need to leave the country. They don't need to go and work in another place. I give them the example of like our fathers. I say, when my father left that country, how many more times did he ever see his mother? A few, 4, 5, 6 times. What? Like how many? That shouldn't have to happen. Not in today's era. Remote working ability, tech skills can be learned by anyone. So who says that, that we have to leave the country to have a better life? Let's make it here. I want that to enable that out there. So that's my vision for, and how I hope, inshallah, will be my legacy out there. For the UK, I view that I want to see my community empowered. I don't want it to be a disadvantage to be a Muslim. I want it to be an advantage, so that it's literally you're more able to form businesses, more able to get together and build something great. I want to see that happen in my lifetime. I want to see that where a Muslim child suddenly has higher odds of success in this dunya, because he's part of a supportive community that has got his back. They will nurture, they will build, they will raise them to be something greater than themselves. I think that's not something that's impossible. I think we're on the track. There's a willingness there. I sense that something's there. We're all sensing it. So there's a willingness.
Something's bubbling.
Yeah, something's bubbling, right? But it needs to be channeled. And so I don't know how to channel it, but I know how to take part. And so I'll do my bit. If everyone does their bit, do we end up in a much better position? Inshallah, I hope we do.
Inshallah. When you reach the 1,000 goal, you can come for a second episode.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you as well.